Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, anyways, of course, I thought that I would give my little fight review on the Teofimo Lopez Jr. versus George Kambosos Jr. fight. And for those of you, of course, that have recently heard the news or watched the fight for yourselves on DAZN, now I did not know that this fight actually was playing on DAZN until today. So, luckily, I was able to watch the fight. I'll be able to probably review the Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton or Stephen Fulton fight tomorrow, however you pronounce his name. I will not be able to review that one tonight, but tomorrow. Anyways, when it comes down to it, all in all, this was a very, very decent fight. Of course, Teofimo Lopez, he had a fight against his mandatory, I believe, against George Kambosos. And George Kambosos, I've seen him fight a couple of times, but, I hadn't really heard a whole lot out of him, before this mandatory when it comes down to it. And George Kambosos, I knew that he was potentially going to be tough for Teofimo Lopez, but I did not predict necessarily that he actually was going to pull off the upset. And that's exactly what happened. George Kambosos was actually able to pull off the upset. He actually was able to win a split decision victory over Teofimo Lopez. And in my opinion, do I think that it went to the correct guy? Do I believe, all in all, that George Kambosos deserved to win the fight? Yes, I personally do. I think that George Kambosos, you can even argue that he won by a couple of rounds. And on every single scorecard that he won, he actually won quite clearly. It wasn't really, I shouldn't say like quite clearly, but one scorecard I believe was 115 to 111, and the other one was 115 to 112, which is interesting that it was 115 to 112. But, well, I'm trying to think about it. I don't know necessarily why they scored the way they did. I would have to look at my own scorecard, I guess. But I believe I scored this fight about 7 rounds to 5. And I did score this all in all for George Kambosos. George Kambosos, in my opinion, he just all around was the better fighter in this fight. And I said that this fight was potentially going to be tough for Teofimo Lopez because these guys really fight very similar. And when you try to fight someone who's very, very similar to your type of style, that's always the toughest type of style that, you kind of, have to face, because you learn how to counter other people, you learn how to counter other styles, but how do you counter your own style? How do you counter you? So that's kind of like the difficult situation here and there. But George Kambosos, he was able to out-counter Teofimo Lopez. He was able to out-punch him. He threw more than what he usually did. Now, I have heard rumors that Teofimo Lopez was injured going into this fight. Whether that's true or not, we'll have to see, but it doesn't really matter. Because Teofimo Lopez, at the end of the day, he no longer has those belts. And at the end of the day, now he has the first official loss in his career. Now, because of this fight, does this, in my opinion, mean that Teofimo Lopez is a hype job or that Lomachenko was a hype job? No, not necessarily. But what I will say is this. I think that Teofimo Lopez, of course, in this fight, got more exposed in this fight than any other fight. Now, against Vasyl Lomachenko, I think that all in all that there were some rounds that Vasyl Lomachenko was able to expose his poor lack of head movement at times and his not necessarily quick feet. But Lomachenko, when it comes down to it, even though I think that he's an A-grade fighter, and I think that he's actually more skilled all around than Teofimo and George Kambosos, the problem is with Vasyl Lomachenko is, first of all, not only is he not a natural 135-pounder, and some of these guys like Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney probably should be facing people at 140 because that's what they are, natural 140-pounders. At least. And Teofimo, he looked extremely big compared to George Kambosos. Like, he looked almost twice his size. Teofimo looked very huge, especially with the back. Teofimo, you can tell, he's one of those dudes that, in my opinion, he should naturally be facing guys at 140. There's no way that he should still be down at 135 pounds. Is there going to be a rematch with this? Who knows? I haven't heard anything with a rematch clause. But if there is, someone correct me. I don't really know. But when it comes down to it, all in all, Vasyl Lomachenko, when he ended up getting defeated by Teofimo, now Vasily, he basically said that he thought, first it was, I thought it was a draw, or I thought I won, blah, 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 blah. And I think it was competitive. But all in all, no, Vasyl Lomachenko lost that fight because he did not take enough chances. And then a little bit later on, I heard all in all it was because of a shoulder injury. And I don't want to hear any of that shit. It is what it is. And I don't want to hear any of the same shit from Teofimo Lopez. It is what it is. If you were injured, then he would have had to back out of the fight. Now, Teofimo, of course, was in a more, difficult position because this fight basically has been pushed off all, year. So we'll see what happens. But when it comes down to it, I think that the reason why Teofimo was able to look so dominant, especially in the first half of the fight against Vasily Lomachenko, is because, yes, Vasily Lomachenko is an A-grade fighter, but he's a guy that he's not someone that can take, a great amount of power shots, especially from A-grade punchers, from guys that probably should be natural 135 or 140 pounders. And Teo's a natural 140 pounder at least. And Teofimo, when it comes down to not only that, but he has great reach compared to Lomachenko. George Kambosos was in that same ballpark, I believe, with Teofimo Lopez. While Lomachenko, he has to really come towards you. It's not that he can't box on the back foot, but it's going to be more difficult for him to do that against fighters like a Teofimo, because Lomachenko is a dude that has like a 65.5-inch reach. So some of these dudes, they outreach him by like 5 or 6 inches. So that's going to be a hell of a lot more difficult. But George Kambosos, his jab was really on target. He was able to completely outbox Teofimo Lopez. I thought his feet looked 10 times better than Teofimo Lopez. And some people, I don't know, they're going to complain about that. But Teo, not only were his feet a lot of the times flat in this fight, but a lot of the times as well, they were very, very slow compared to Kambosos. The only thing I would say about Kambosos is that he does need to learn when to keep his hands up a little bit more. And that was a fault that I seen with both him and Teofimo Lopez. And that's why you've seen certain guys, or you heard certain guys say it's basically like Teofimo is looking in the mirror, because he basically was fighting someone that's very, very similar to him. And that's why he had so many problems with this. Now, in my opinion, where does Teofimo Lopez go here? And, go from here. And, what were some of the other faults that I seen? Why else was George Kambosos able to win the fight? Well, very simple. In my opinion, his feet were 10 times faster. His head movement was way better when it came down to it. And on top of that, he was able to throw more than Teofimo Lopez as well. And from what I heard, apparently in the aftermath, because I didn't get to watch it, Teofimo allegedly said, "Oh, well, everyone knows I won. I won 10 rounds to 2. No, dude. You did not win that fight 10 rounds to 2. In fact, you really did not win that fight at all. It is what it is. But to think that, or allegedly think that you won that fight 10 rounds to 2, that's just delusional. I don't know, all in all, how you would think that you won that fight 10 rounds to 2. But it just is what it is. Anyways, when it comes down to it, all in all, George Kambosos, like I said, his feet were faster. He threw more. He was the way better counterpuncher, in my opinion, tonight, or at least the better counterpuncher. And on top of that, to be quite honest with you, he just looked like the more skilled fighter in general. It is what it is. Now, where does Teofimo go from here? In my opinion, he may have to get a new corner. On top of that, if George Kambosos is not willing to give him a rematch, if there is not a rematch clause, maybe a rematch of Lomachenko would be a great way to go. Because Lomachenko is looking to prove himself, and maybe this is his meal ticket. We'll see what happens. George Kambosos, hopefully we get to see a fight with Devin Haney. Maybe he can face Vasily Lomachenko next if he wants to. George Kambosos can pretty much face whoever he wants to. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, that's really about it for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.